Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Sharon Bown, and joining us this evening from the Royal Australian Air Force is Wing Commander Linda New. We warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Clement Francis Cooke, whose story will be told shortly. Wing Commander New is the niece of Sergeant Cooke. We welcome Mr. Gabriel Lim, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Communications and Information, and incoming Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Republic of Singapore, and his accompanying delegation. We also warmly welcome Ms. Gwen Chern, Member of the Council of the Australian War Memorial. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that continue to serve, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, by visitors, and by students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Our Lady of Perpetual Succour School, West Pymble. From Queensland, St Stephen's College, Oxenford. And from Victoria, St Mary's School, Lancefield. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Boys and girls, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians to understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Clement Francis Cooke. Clement Francis Cooke was born on the 19th of June 1916 at Uralla, New South Wales, the son of John and Elizabeth Cooke. Clem, as he was affectionately known, spent the early years of his life in Uralla, Glen Innes and Warwick, where his father worked as a baker. Growing up alongside his three sisters, Marjorie, Dorothea and Irene, and his brother Clifford, Clem had dreams of being a policeman when he left school. According to family legend, when the time came, he was told he was too short, despite being over 6 feet tall. Instead, he enlisted for service on the 3rd of November 1939. Cooke had previously served with the Light Horse in Glen Innes and saw enlisting as an opportunity to serve his country. He was allotted to the 2nd 9th Battalion, the 1st Queensland Battalion of the 2nd AIF, which became part of the 18th Brigade. After initial training, Cooke and the 2nd 9th embarked for the Middle East on the 5th of May 1940. En route to the Middle East, the 18th Brigade was diverted to England to bolster its defences following the fall of France. The 2nd 9th disembarked in Scotland in mid-June and was based near Salisbury in England. During the voyage, Cooke had been promoted to corporal, and in August, a further promotion followed, this time to sergeant. After relocating to Colchester in October, Cooke and his battalion left England in November, arriving in Egypt on New Year's Eve 1940. The 18th Brigade's baptism was to take place at an assault on Diyarbab, a remote desert village built around an oasis in the eastern Libyan desert, once the headquarters of the Senussi religious movement. The 2nd 9th was to be the assault formation. Before it had arrived in the Middle East, a British force had been sent to capture the village, but had been forced to give up due to lack of access to water. A later artillery bombardment had seen large numbers of Senussi tribesmen desert, but around 1,200 Italian soldiers remained. During their approach, Cooke and his comrades were met by fierce sandstorms that removed paint from vehicles and rendered some automatic weapons inoperative. But the sandstorms also offered cover for the advancing Australians, who easily took positions outside Diyarbab as they advanced. At 5:30 a.m. on the 21st of March 1941, the final attack was launched. During the attack, an Italian artillery barrage killed about a dozen men of the 2nd 9th, and more lives were lost, subduing enemy posts. 3 men named MacDonald were killed within 3 minutes of each other. As the Australian attack overwhelmed the Thai defenders, they soon surrendered, and by the end of the day, the black over blue flag of the 2nd 9th Battalion was flying from the highest point of the town. But despite the victory, the men of the battalion were quiet. Though proud to have passed the tests faced during their first battle of the war, They remembered dead comrades, including Clem Cooke. Initially buried at Yarrabub, Cooke's remains were later reburied at Halfaya Solemn War Cemetery in Egypt, where they lie today under the epitaph chosen by his grieving family. Though lost to sight, to memory ever dear, at rest. Clem Cooke was 24 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Clement Francis Cooke, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you all for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.